G'day and welcome to another video with Better Pics. Today we're going to continue on with another video looking at Lumetri Colour. Lumetri Colour, for those who are joining us for the first time, is the colour correction and grading tools built into Premiere Pro, which is the video editing software by Adobe. While there are certainly other tools available for adjusting and color grading footage, both within Premiere and external to Premiere, Lumetri Colour is a great starting point and certainly is a fantastic opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about the color correction process. As I mentioned, it's not the be-all and end-all of color correction tools, but it's a great place to start and certainly a great place to make adjustments to your footage. And for me, it certainly fits the bill for the vast majority of commercial and storytelling work that I do. So within Lumetri Colour, as we've spoken about in the past, there's several tabs. The one that we're going to look at today is Vignette, so the very bottom one. And as the name suggests, very similar to tools that you see in Photoshop and Adobe Camera Raw and Lightroom. This allows to make adjustments to a slight darkening of the outer part of the image. So working on the same footage that we've shown in previous videos, just a aerial drone piece of footage from the Gold Coast in the east coast of Australia. What we're going to do is apply a vignette, and I'm going to apply quite a heavy one because I want to show not only what the amount will do, but also the other tools, the midpoint, roundness and feather, and how they work and the effect that they have on your particular footage. Now with the amount, all of these tools are sliders. Looking at the amount first, if we slide it all the way to the left, you can see it darkens the outer parts of the footage, and if we go all the way to the right, it lightens the outer part of the footage. Now generally speaking, people want to have a slightly darker outer part of the footage so that they can help to keep people's focus on the central part of the image. So that's a fairly standard process. So I'm going to leave it at all the way to maximum, which is -3. And first we're going to have a look at what the midpoint does, then roundness and feather. So for midpoint, if I slide that tool all the way to the left, you can see that it actually brings in the transition of no effect to full effect closer into the center of the image. If I take that all the way out, it's actually moving the transition all the way out, and in this case it's actually removed it altogether. So what I'm going to do is just drop that in a little bit below so that we can see the full effect of the amount that I've applied, which I mentioned earlier is -3, the full amount. And we're going to move on to roundness. So roundness, if I slide all the way to the left, is going to change the actual shape of the application of that effect. So you can see when I slide to the left, it actually turns it into some sort of an oblong shape, and you can see that it's kind of making the effect hug the outer edges of the actual footage itself. If I take that in all the way to the right, then it's turning it into a full circle, regardless of the shape of the footage itself. Keeping that in the middle, you can see that it's an oblong shape still, but it's applying it relative to the shape of the frame that we have on the timeline, which in this case is 16:9 aspect ratio. The feather, very similar to the tools that you find in other Adobe products, is the tool that affects the transition from no effect to full effect. So if we take feather all the way down, you can see that it's turned it into a hard edge. Basically that's applying no feather to the effect. So that transition from no effect to full effect is a defined line because we have no feather applied. If we slide all the way to the right, we're increasing the feather, so increasing the transition from no effect to full effect. And you can see that that feathering, or that transition, is much softer now. Now, I've applied an extreme amount of vignette, and in a real situation you wouldn't normally apply that amount. What I'm going to do is just zero off by double clicking all of those settings so that we're back to our starting point where there is no effect, and I'm just going to show you a gentle application of vignette so that it's not actually obvious but it does certainly make a change to the footage. Now, if you were to look at that footage for the first time, you perhaps wouldn't necessarily see the vignette as super obvious. You can see that there's a slight darkening around the outer parts of the image and the inner part is left unaffected by the effect. But it's not obvious. It doesn't jump out or seem really clear that that effect's been applied. However, if I turn that effect off and turn it back on, you can see that there's clear effect that's been applied there. But as I said, it's not obvious, it's not really in your face, and it's just a smooth transition from no effect to full effect, or partial effect in this case. And the image, I believe, is enhanced a little bit because it means that the focus is a little bit more centralized and kept within the frame, which is always something you want to do. So Vignette is a great tool to consider using. As I mentioned, if you want to really contain focus, there's certainly other ways that you can apply selective lightening and darkening. However, this is just a quick application, keeping the focus on the central part of the image. We will be looking at other methods of applying a vignette in the future, but for now, the option within Lumetri Colour is a great option to look at and certainly play around with so you gain an understanding of what it can do to help you achieve the outcome you would like to. Hope you've enjoyed this video and look forward to seeing you next time. As always, take care.